Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation User Group India. We have been abbreviated to this particular group as D365 UG India. And this is the session number 25, which is handled by Venkat. Venkat is again a financial consultant with having MCT as well. I will introduce my group to everyone. This group is about all networking, sharing knowledge, as well as connecting with the like-minded people. Give me a minute. There are a lot of people joining. Sorry for that. And basically to learn, connect, and grow with themselves. Right now, this particular group is headed by Rajat and supported by Umesh Pandit and Satya Krejiwal. We have been in a mix, having mixed technological experience, people coming from various experience on Dynamics 365, Finance and Operation, Business Central, as well as Azure are welcomed to speak in this session. In this session, in case you are coming in from Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, you are also welcomed. Till now we have done a lot of sessions. We recently did 24 session on 24th session on 21st of October on X++ with Komi, and we started around the 10th of July 21st, and we celebrated our group anniversary on 16th of July 2020. So these are the recorded sessions. In case you have been looking for some recorded sessions, you can go to our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is available with D365 User Group India. So today's session is morely focused on finance, and over to you, Venkat.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the intro. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. This is Venkatesh. So, Umesh, I'll present my screen. Just confirm if you can see it.
Sure. Yes.
Hope you can see my PPT.
Yes, PPTs are visible. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So, this is Venkatesh. So, I'm coming with good experience on Dynamics 365. From past 7-8 years, I'm into this. Started with initially as a finance consultant, but right now I'm handling much better part of the system, handling the HR and supply chain side, brushing my wings on the manufacturing and retail. It's a never-ending story. It's always a learning thing on Dynamics. And today my focus here is on the D365 Finance. I'll be covering the modules of GL, APAR, Cash and Bank, Budget, Credit and Collections, and Fixed Assets. And I'll also give you the brief idea how the ERP is and how the design it is, what are all the modules it is covered as well. I would like to thank you, Umesh and Rachit, also Satya, for giving me this opportunity for reaching the wider audience in this group. So, firstly, when it comes to Dynamics 365 Finance, these are all the modules which has been built in the system, and they keep adding multiple other modules as well. So Microsoft is extensively building so many things. Every month there was releases. So every quarter you can see much better features are coming. So right now the focus on the finance side, but I'll also tell you what are all the modules we have. So when it comes to finance, it is accounts receivable, which is your O2C cycle, order to cash,
இல்ல
starting from
நான் குரூப்ல போட்டேன்ல அதுல எதுக்கு பாக்குறீங்க நீங்க ஓ
guys.
அதேதான்
Guys, can you go on mute, please? Thank you. So accounts receivable is more of O2C cycle, order to cash cycle. It starts from the sales order and receiving a payment from the customer. So this cycle it covers on the accounts receivable module, and AP is more focused on P2P cycle, which is procure to pay. But the procurement part comes under supply chain, as we also have a procurement and sourcing module. When it comes to AP, it starts from the purchase order till receiving a payment from the vendor. And we also have multiple workspaces where you can see like a similar dashboards of a Power BI, integrated into this system, where you see the overview of the each module with specific volumes of the data, and from there you can drill down to a higher level on the management side. If you want to see what's happening in the transactional level, they don't want to look into that level, but they wanted to see the performance of the company by seeing my credibility, my profitability reports. So those are built as a dashboards. We call it as workspaces in the system. And we also have the HR module and also the supply chain management. And we have credit and collections in the finance. So that will handle your customer limits, credit limits, and keeping the customer on hold if you are exceeding that limit, and automatically, and you can release the hold back. And the management of this limits and all happens in credit and collection module. And we also have revenue recognition. So basing on the revenue, we apportion the revenue and recognize the revenue from the customers. This is all in the revenue recognition. We also have credit management that is related to vendors. So we also have artificial intelligence for finance. So there are some tools like which has integrated with D365. So like Insights, so which will give you the customer insights and the vendor insights, and it will give you what percentage of vendors are being paid on time, and what percentage of customers are being paid on time, and what method of payment they are using and all. And this also has the intercompany and consolidations under the GL module. And also we have financial period closing. After the closing, you will be able to generate the reports as a P&L and balance sheet. And we also have budgeting module to manage your budgets. It also includes your budget planning and budget control as well. So there are inbuilt standard reports in every module. So we're going to speak on them as well. And we have expense management to take care of employee related payments or any travel reimbursements, something from the HR side are handled under expense management. This is also part of finance solution. And we have fixed assets. So to manage the asset life cycle from acquisition and all, and depreciating it periodically, and scrapping it off or selling off an asset. So this is the part of the module. So let's go into the system now. So this is the finance and operations system. So as we see on the left hand side, we call this as hamburger menu. So in this we have workspaces and modules. So it's already explained. So we have AP, AR, cash and bank, credit and collections, expense, fixed assets, GL. These are all part of finance. And we'll be learning some part of the other modules as well in the product information management, inventory management related to finance, but more focus on the finance part. So I was explaining you on the workspaces. So these are the workspaces. Let me show one workspace, how it looks like. So I'm showing you the bank management workspace. So on an overview, you can see what are all the balances you have and the bank accounts here. So it is just for a CFO or a CEO who can take decisions based on my current balances and current loans. So that decision can be made by just seeing this workspace. So this is an inbuilt workspaces available, which is linked to Power BI without any extra licenses. You can access this. So the product is finance and operations, and you can buy the product separately as finance or operations as well. Operations is basically your supply chain management or trade and logistics solution. So this product is also available individually to buy as well. And let's come to the GL module first. So what are all the things covered under GL module we're going to see now. So it is integrated. Every module in the Dynamics 365 is integrated with the other modules. So whenever there is a transactions from the modules, it is internally already integrated. So when the transaction is posted, it gives a financial impact, and the transaction is being posted in the GL module. So if you see, it is linked with the AP module and procurement and sourcing. When there is a purchase order created and the vendor transactions happen, so it posts the entry in the GL module. So GL is the base where it does all the postings, and your trial balance extraction and the management reports are in GL module. And the same way as well as for the cash and bank management. So cash and bank management is where you manage your cash accounts and bank accounts, and also the facilities from the banks like letter of credit, letter of guarantee. All these are maintained under cash and bank management. The same way when you are managing it under cash and bank management, any transaction related to bank were posted, then the relevant effect of the transaction, either the debit or credit, will be impacted on the GL module. The same way on the production control also, all the GL entries related to production control will be posted to GL module as well. And the same for the budgeting as well. Budget doesn't actually post any entries on the GL, but it does track whether I'm using, consuming the budget, or I have the budget for this particular expense, or am I consuming over the budget, or am I exceeding the budget or something like that. That check happens at the budget level, but the check base is related to GL only, because all the entries are being posted to GL module, and from there I will see whether my budget is, am I exceeding the budget, or am I still have a budget on the particular combination of expenses. So there is one good module called project management accounting. So it is also linked with GL module for all the transactional postings. And the same for the fixed assets as well. When I acquire an asset, or when I depreciate an asset, or when I sell an asset, or scrap an asset, so all the entries will be posted to GL only. And the same for AR and sales and marketing. When I create a sales order and do any transaction related to customer, it impacts the GL. So typical process of GL module. So it is where you are managing your 3C, we call it. That is chart of accounts, currency, and calendar. So calendar is basically your fiscal calendar. It will be different from location to location. So basing on your current country where you are implementing the solution, so that you can create as a fiscal calendar. So that is basically your financial year. For example, if it is in India, it starts from April to March of the corresponding year. And globally, most of them use the calendar year. It starts from January to December. So that is maintained under GL module. And you can have multiple calendars for multiple legal entities as well. Let's say if I am having the operations across the different countries, and I have the legal entities across different regions, so that can also be managed under GL module. So each company is linked to the calendar. So that is the setup. I'll show you in the system as well. And we are also going to see how do we process the transactions, closing transactions, and do the allocations, maintain the ledger accounts, and close the transaction. So this is the part of the closing activity. There's also a process of revaluation the currency, converting the accounting currency. The functionalities is in the GL module itself, and we can do the pre-closing reports and create any electronic documents. And we can also do the allocation of cost and income, consolidation of transactions and eliminations. If you have a group companies holding and subsidiary companies, so you will be needing a consolidated balance sheet and P&L reports to be generated from the holding company. So that can be accommodated in this module. So this has the capability to manage that. And you can also do the forecast of cash flow and currency requirements. So you can also do a soft close of the books of accounts on a month, on a periodical basis, on a monthly, and also for the year. So this is the typical a GL process. Let me go back to the system and show you what we have in the GL module. So every module, if you see, so it is consists of like this workspaces, if there are any were there in the initial stage on the workspaces. And this is where your day-to-day job will be there to by posting the entries. And we also have inquiries and reports. So there are standard reports which are created available for use. And any periodic task like period close or something like that were under this. And the periodic tasks and allocations were a separate setup under this. And when you see the last one, whichever says the setup is where the initial configuration needs to be done by a consultant, only then you will be able to use the REST module. So let me show the calendar setup. So fiscal calendars. So fiscal calendars, I'm showing one example. So this is for India. I have taken a company for India and I'm showing it to you. Let's see. So this is where it started from April and it is ending for on the March. Okay, and system by defaultly to creates two more periods, that is on the opening and closing periods, which will be defaultly created extra. So this is the period which it uses for closing of books and transferring the closing balances to the next financial year. So all those postings will happen in the opening and closing period. So you can create the new calendar and assign it to a different company, or if you wanted to create a different year, so you can click on this new year and use the copy from last fiscal year setup and click create. So the calendar is created. Okay, so we also have a concept of ledger calendar. So ledger calendar is the where we do the monthly closing activity here. So if you see here, let me go to the period of April. So you can see this period status as open or close. So let me edit. Okay, this is a whole setup. You can do, there are 3 setup in the periodic close, that is open, that means the transactional posting is allowed. You can keep it on hold, that means no posting is allowed, but at any point of time you can bring it back to open. But if you have selected permanently closed, that means it can never be able to bring it back to the open stage. So this usually is recommended to post it once you have audit entries posted and the financials are closed and frozen. Only then you are recommended to use the permanently closed. But at every point of time, we recommend to use on hold. So this on hold is for the entire legal entity for the period. And there is also option for the module wise you can restrict. So you can see the ledger, that means the GL module and the tax postings, bank and customer. By each module wise also you can hold it, whether you want to hold it for all or you wanted to open it only for approvers or something like that, also you can do it. So this is a monthly activity which happens in the GL module. So this is usually managed by the IT team and the finance together. And let me show the ledger setup. So before that, let me show the currencies. So all possible currencies are already created in the system. You can use them. So this is all available currencies. So there is a concept of managing the exchange rate as well in the system. So each once you have the relevant currencies and you can create the exchange rates in them. So let me go to currency exchange rates. So you can also have types of exchange rates. It can be default or it can be budgeted or average. You wanted to maintain it differently at different places, that is also possible. So if you see, I have default exchange rate. Okay, and you have closing default rate or any budget rate, average rate, you can maintain them. So how do you maintain? So for example, let me take an example, Europe to Euro. So you click on add and give the start date and you give the exchange rate, and this is valid till you create a new one. So let's say if I have created a new exchange rate as on today, that means my earlier exchange rate is valid from 1st of January 2013 till today. Okay, from today, I mean till yesterday basically. So till yesterday, this 68.7115 is valid, and whatever the exchange rate I'm giving it today, let's say I'm giving it to 75.23. I'm randomly putting a number. So this is applicable from today. So that's what system does from today. Okay, and you can see the historical data if you have maintained by removing the from and to date fields, that if anything is being maintained in the system. Let me give today. Yeah. So this is the historical exchange rates. And this exchange rate is a kind of default exchange rate, which is maintained at the transactional level, but you can also have them maintained across each transaction also. For example, I'm paying a payment to in euros, but the exchange rate for that particular transaction is different than my exchange rate what is in the books of accounts. So then you can still do a change in the transaction, but if you don't give anything, this is the default rate which system picks up. Okay, and then I'll explain you what is a chart of account. So chart of account is basically a set of accounts which does have the main accounts. If I tell you in the general terminology, we call it as all the ledger accounts. So that is the set of all the ledger accounts is managed under chart of accounts. So let me show that for you. So this is the mandatory setup. You need to have it. And there is a concept of shared or not shared chart of accounts. So if it is a shared chart of account, you can have the same chart of account across all the legal entities. If it is not shared, you can have it across for each company. You can have a separate chart of account. So this is how the chart of account looks like. Let me show the one for India. So it has a set of accounts where the types are assets and liabilities. So the classification is maintained here. And there is also the main account category, which is like current liabilities, current assets. This is the classification which we use for the reporting side on the P&L and balance sheet calculations. So that reports will be taken basing on your account categories. So we usually have a standard practice of managing with the starting number. If you see all the equity accounts are with 3, and the liabilities are with 2, assets are with 1. So that's nomenclature usually used. There's no hard stop rule that you need to use, but it's up to the business or the customers who they wanted to use. And the expenses and the revenue items. So this is the chart of accounts. And let me show one main account as an example for you. So in the main account, you can give a number, name, and the type of expense you can give it up, and the category. And you can also set it up whether the debit or credit rule here. So basing on this, when you make a transaction, this will be posted automatically into that time. And there is also option for balance control. For example, let's say the cash account, I cannot control is enabled for that. And if in case at some point of time you are not using this account, you can suspend it as well. And there is an option called legal entity overrides. You can restrict this particular account for some particular company also. If you have multiple entities, we want to use one particular main account only for one legal entity, that can also be enabled. And let's move on. So we have an allocation concept. So allocation journals are basically financial dimension splitting. So what is a financial dimension is? Financial dimension is basically a value where you are categorizing your to a certain level, like you wanted to track the expenses by department wise, you wanted to track the sales by the salesperson wise, or by location wise. Those are all can be your dimensions. So you can create a dimension and assign that for the main accounts. So we call that as account structure. once you have an account structure, whenever you're posting an entry, you will need to select the relevant dimension along with the main account. So that is where we keep it for the reporting side. So allocation journal is basically you can allocate the dimension. For example, let's say whenever I'm doing an electricity expense, I know that 20% of my electricity comes from location A and 80% comes from location B. So I can set up an allocation rule for this expense, and system will automatically allocate that allocation to every month on month once I post my actual expense entry. So those are on the allocation side. Let me show the concept of dimensions. So financial dimensions. So these are all my dimensions, though there are standard dimensions available, or you can create custom dimensions, and each dimension can have dimension values. So when it comes to business unit, so you have, these are all the business unit as dimension values. So these are being selected at the entry level. Okay, so let me show the account structure. What is an account structure? And in the basic ledger setup. So ledger is basically a link where you are doing it for your chart of accounts and calendar and the currency and reporting currency and your exchange rate types and the account structure. So this is where you link all of them. So account structure is basically you are defining it, what set of dimensions I wanted to use along with my main account. So if you see here, so from this set of main account, I wanted to use department and business unit. So, and I have given some symbol that means all the blank values are allowed, even though if it's not mandatory to give a value here. And if you see, there is a set of accounts which starts from this range. I have given that. So only these values are allowed, and it is mandatory. It's not like blank allowed. So, and the business unit is basically 001. Okay, so this is the set of structure which I have maintained in the system. So this is where it populates everywhere in the system. And let me go back to AP module, what we have there. So this is on the overview of GL module. And let's go back to AP. So AP is your continuous process of the vendor. So starting from purchase requisition and moving on till the payment. So P2P cycle we call it, that is managed under AP module, but procurement and sourcing module is also similar module which can be used for this, but you can start from PR in the procurement and sourcing module, but AP module has the functionality starting from PO creation only. Okay, and RFQ process and purchase requisition is maintained in the procurement and sourcing model that comes under operations, but for the finance it is from PO. Okay, you can create a PO and receive it, which is GRN or MRN. Sorry, and you can invoice it, and after invoicing you can do a payment for it based on the payment terms, and you can create the vendors under this module. And there is also a vendor collaboration, which is vendor portal. So from the vendor portal, there is an integration where vendor can submit the documents and the vendors can be created. So that is also there. And from the project management accounting also, you can book invoices and which will get impacted in the AP module. And you can do all the transactions, whatever you're doing will impact in the GL module. And when you do a vendor payment, it is impacting cash and bank management module. So it has an integration along with the inventory and warehouse whenever you're procuring, and it is storing the relevant site and warehouse data, and it shows where you are receiving the material and from where you are issuing the material as well. So this is on the AP side. On the typical processes, we have prepayments for product or services and pay expenses or commissions or salary from the AP module. And in case of any refund to customers can be handled from the AP module, and monthly closing or yearly closing of AP module, and receive and record vendor invoices. So you can also have purchase agreements. Agreement is basically you're fixing the price for a particular item with a vendor for a particular period of time. Basing on the agreement, you can create a purchase order, and you can create charges. Methods of payment. Methods of payment can be multiple ways, like paying it with cash or check or electronic transfers, Swift transfers. So those are all the methods of payments, and you can create the purchase orders and confirm the purchase orders and submit. After that, the receiving, which is GRN, and we call it in Dynamics as product receipt. And after that, submit for the vendor payments once it is due and manage the settlement. So let me go to the system and show you the process. Yeah, so accounts payable module. So let me quickly create a purchase order. Yeah, so let me open one purchase order and show you how it looks like. So what does the details it capture is basically on the header side and the line side, we divide it whenever there is an entry. On the header side, it captures the delivery date. So all the lines, let's say if I have 10 lines in the purchase order, so all can have a single value, or I can also set it up the values at the line level, which can be also be managed. So at the line level, if I wanted to manage, so each field is there in the each tab. Okay, and let me go to header. So header also has so many values in the each tab. So if you start with general and the setups, address, delivery, discounts, and financial dimensions. So this is the dimensions which I have created in the account structure are populating everywhere in the system. Okay, so you will give ideally the item number and the quantity and the unit price for what you're purchasing, and you'll also give the warehouse and site where you're going to receive them. Under the product tab, you have the site and warehouse. So these are all mandatory fields which you need to give it, and you can also select the relevant tax details. Basing on that, the tax values will also be populated. So you can see the totals. So I have given the amount of 50,000 and the tax it is calculated 9,000 and the total amount. So this is my purchase order. And after I create a purchase order, I'll go to receive. Sorry, the first one you have to confirm the purchase order. And once you confirm the purchase order, so this is where, and the status will be confirmed and approved. You can also have workflow at every stage in the Dynamics. So there can be a multiple level of workflows, and conditional based workflows also can be enabled. And once you have the confirmed purchase order, you can go to receive tab and receive it. So basically it's already invoice status, that's why it is graded out. But you can see sorry, under generate, you have product receipt where you can post the receiving of the purchase order items. So it can be multiple receipts, you can post it, or you can post a single receipt for all the total quantity. That is also possible. And you can, once it is done, you can go to invoice tab. And once you actually receive the physical invoice from the vendor, then you can actually invoice it. So you can click on generate and click on invoice and do the invoice. So what invoice happens, I'll show you one, this invoice, what happened. And what does the invoice has? All the details of taxes from the vendor, and sorry, and it'll also have the due dates and the invoice number and the invoice date. So this is the item and this is the invoice. And at the invoicing stage, system is also capable of doing the three-way matching, and it inbuilt has an engine with which does the three-way matching, and then it will go for posting. So without three-way matching, you cannot do a posting until unless as the parameter level you're allowing it. Though my three-way matching is failed, you still wanted to go ahead and post it, that is accommodatable. So that is all on the side of AP. So there is a setup for the methods of payment and payment days, payment schedules, terms of payment, and the discounts which can be configured. So I'll quickly take 2 minutes and finish the AP. So you can create multiple methods of payments, and if you have some of the ISVs, you can integrate these methods of payment with the actual payments. So if you do have an electronic payment and this is linked to your bank account, from the system itself you can do a payment and which appears into your bank portal by integrating it. So that is the main things on the side of AP. And after you have invoicing, once the invoice is due, you can click on the vendor payment journal and do a payment for the vendor. So this can also have, once you have the payment terms and due dates created, you can create the payments on its own by clicking on proposal, and a single journal can do all the payments to the multiple vendors at a time. I'll show one example how does the payment looks like. So basically selecting your vendor and selecting your bank account, you will be paying it. So once you have selected the vendor, you will see a settle transaction option. So if you click on settle transaction and settle the invoice, so the same amount from the invoice will be populated here. You can also select multiple invoices for payments, and all the invoices will be paid. So if you settle it here, that means it gets automatically settled with invoice, and the posting will be done automatically by the system. If you don't settle it here, this will be considered as an advance payment, and as a periodic activity, you will have to settle them against invoices. So this is the thing on the AP side. So on the cash and bank management, we have the bank accounts. So you can create the bank accounts and the cash accounts here. And the bank accounts can have two ways of reconciliations in the system. They can have a manual reconciliation or an advanced bank reconciliation. So the advanced bank reconciliation is also being supported by Dynamics 365. So what happens in advanced bank reconciliation is you will create matching rules, and you will be importing the some particular formats which supports by Dynamics 365, like MT940, BIA2. These formats are supported for advanced bank reconciliation. So under this advanced bank reconciliation, you can have the setup, and transaction code mapping can be done here. Once you have this mapping, so you can run the matching rules at every month end, and system will do the reconciliation part for you. The reconciliation can be managed as a rules, like basing on the transaction reference number or amount. You can set up all kinds of combinations. Basing on that, you can perform the advanced reconciliation. And this also have capacity to maintain the letter of guarantee, letter of credits, and you can maintain the checks for each bank account. under this, and bank facilities and are basically the LC and LG, letter of credit and letter of guarantee. So this is under the cash and bank module. Under budgeting, we have the budget setup where we can manage the complete budget for this item. Let me show the very prominent control, which is widely used across. So you can select the dimensions where the budget can be enabled. So it can be on the main account level or the combination of your main account and the dimension. And you can also set it up the over budget permissions for the particular group. You can give a right that though my budget is exhausted and over the budget, I can still go and post a transaction. And this is how the calculation of the budget funds happen. So you can do a checkbox, and basing on this, the budget calculation happens. And you can enable them for the particular journals where the budget check needs to be done. Usually it is on the purchase orders, purchase requisitions, and daily journals and expense reports. So these are the vendor invoices. So these are the places usually it is tracked for the expenses side. And you can also have a budget model where it tracks from starting from period and end period. And you can define some budget control rules, and you can set up what are all the main accounts that you wanted to use the budget for. And you can define budget groups. So you, let's say you can create 10 main accounts or one group, and under that group I wanted to manage the budget. That can also be possible. And you can define the message levels, so whom you wanted to post which message, that can be done. And once you have all the configuration done, you can do a budget activation from this screen. So this is on the budget side. And everywhere in the system you have an attachment option. You can do attachment at any entry level. It may be purchase order or the vendor invoice, or you may be your budgets or vendor creation. That is this attachment. And you have an Office integration. So Dynamics 365 is automatically integrated with your Office 365, and you can open the same form in Excel and do a data entry in the Excel. And the capability of posting the data from Excel is possible, provided you have the same logins in the Dynamics 365 and your Office 365. Then the integration works. It doesn't need any special have all the budget configured, and you can post a budget register entries for your original budget or actual budget, and revised or any transfers for the next year that can be managed here in the budget register entries. Once you have all this done, and basing on your entries and your consumption, you can see a report for budgeting, which is actual versus budget, how much is available and how much is there. So that is in the budget module. So credit and collections is where you define the credit limits for each customers. So basing on the credit limits, so the particular customer will go on hold automatically once you do the mandatory setups needed for it. And you can have a workflow also when you want to release a particular customer, even though it exhausted, or once you receive a payment back from the customer, you can open it. So you can also set up the hold at the level of sales order or at the invoice level. That can also be managed here. So, and the aging report is also the one prominent report that comes from the credit and collections module only. And next comes the expense management. So expense management is the module where you manage your expense reports and advances and expenses to your employees. So whenever you are sending an employee over a travel to meet some client or attend some meeting, so that you give them some advances, and you give them maybe a corporate card or something, and ask them to manage all the expenses from there and submit a report, and which can be integrated with the payroll. And once you have all the expenses posted at month end, you can include that in your payroll and process them. So you have multiple payment like basing on the country or basing on the designation, basing on airfare and food, all can be accommodated in the per diems. So it can also have sorry, basing on the location wise, different from each country to country, the per diem can be accommodated. So this is on the expense management side. Let me go back to my PPT. So AR is where it handles the complete order and packing slip and sorry, packing slip and doing an invoicing for the customer and getting a payment from them. So whenever you are doing any sale of an asset, will also be handled in this accounts receivable module only. So that's why we have the fixed assets in this, and any posting will be through a GL. And the project management accounting can also have customers, and the posting related to them will be impacting on the GL and budget things as well. And also your procurement and sourcing, you can have a concept of vendor as customer as well in the Dynamics. So the same party will be acting as a customer as well as vendor. You will be doing both the kind of transactions with the same party. That can also be possible. So let me show the AR quickly. So accounts receivable, let me show one sales order. So these are my sales orders. Let me show one example to you. Okay, let me take a different one. This doesn't have any postings. The same way how we have seen it on the purchase order side, we also have the same header and lines concept in the sales order as well. More or less the fields are almost similar, but these are all related to customers, and that side it is on the vendors. So you will be selecting an item which you are going to sell to the customer, and quantity and price, and the system automatically calculates the net amount. And at the line level, you will be selecting from which warehouse you are going to ship the shipment, and the site and warehouse can be picked up from here. And you can also give the tax part here, basing on which the taxes will also be automatically calculated. And you can give the ship date and requested delivery date. And you can also manage multiple addresses for the same customer, and this can be shipped to different addresses also for the same customer. So once you have the sales order created, and you will be confirming the sales order, and once after confirmed, you will be going to pick and pack and generate a picking list. And once you have the picking list done, you can do a packing slip posting. So once you have done this, so you have a journals appearing for pick and pack. So after that, you will be going to invoice. And once you have uh, you can generate the invoice, and as on the due date, you'll ask the customer to pay. And once you have received the payment, that closes the cycle. So this is on the side of AR. And we also have a concept of free text invoice. So when you are selling something which doesn't have an inventory, like a service based invoices can be accommodated in the free text invoices. So this is basically you can directly post a revenue into one direct main account. So this can be accommodated here. So let me show how it looks. So this posting I'm directly doing into this main account. There is no inventory here. So this is where we going to use if there is no inventory sales. So that is the prominence of free text invoice. And when you are doing a sale of fixed asset as well, you will be doing it through the free text invoice. So you can select the asset and select it will automatically pick the books, and you can do a sale from here. So that is on the AR side. So you have multiple reports here, and the same configurations like what you have in the AP side, you can also same can be managed on the customer side as well. For methods of payment, payment days, schedules, and terms of payment can be accommodated. And let me go to the fixed asset module. So we have covered this. So these are like a financial period closing workspace. This is, you can create it, and this is all manual, just managing the tasks that you at every month, and you can maintain these tasks. And once they're completed, you can close the financial period. So there might be multiple people who was doing the closing activity. So each activity can be assigned to a person, and the due date can be managed. So basing on this, so the particular person, he can mark it whether it is closed or not. Basing on this, a finance manager or IT team can decide whether they see all the tasks are completed, and then log the period. So this is one example of the credit and collections workspace, how it looks like on the balances side, how many customers are aged, and by status you can see. And this is on the budgeting side. So fixed asset is basically capitalizing an asset, and you can also transfer or lending is possible. Revalue and updating the asset is also possible. Splitting of fixed assets is also there. Depreciation and amortization of fixed assets. So let me go back to system. And in the fixed asset module, we can create the fixed assets. And after acquiring an asset, you can acquire an asset directly from the fixed asset journal, or also by a purchase order. So both ways you can acquire an asset. So once acquired, you will be doing some setup like creating the depreciation profile. So you can set up the life of the asset, and what percentage of method of depreciation can be assigned here. So this by standard system supports straight line method and reducing balance. And these are all the standard methods available. So basing on the customer selection, you can select the method of depreciation. And if there is any particular percentage, it can also be accommodated. And you can create multiple depreciation profiles if you have any localizations where it requires that as per income tax or act or tax calculations, it is a different depreciation. And as per the company's act or your actual books of accounts, it is a different rate. The system does support the multiple layers. So it has a tax layer which does multiple other calculations only for the tax reporting purposes, and the current layer which does actual postings. So the system has a capability to maintain that layer level wise, and multiple balances on the tree B side also can be managed. So you can see for this particular buildings, the reducing balance and percentage is different from the tax and here. So this can be assigned to my asset. And once the asset is depreciated, and if you assign that with the depreciation profile and month on month, you just need to click and see the system automatically does calculate the depreciation of the asset, and you need to click and post. So that's all on the fixed asset side. And there are other modules also like cost accounting, which is managing your cost sheets and deciding on setting up the sale prices based on your cost. You can manage them also as a part of finance. So that's all from my side. I'll quickly take some questions. If anything is there, I'll be happy to answer them.
So the floor is open for questions. Thank you, Venkat. It was a wonderful session. Even it made me to stand a while and listen to you very carefully. It was a wonderful session from my end, your end. and we enjoyed it.
Thank you, Mesh. Thank you so much.
I had a question.
Yes.
Perfect. It's fine, right? We need not message. We can directly ask in the meeting, right?
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
you can. You
Yes,
can.
yes, yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, like for a person like me who has a finance background, for that matter, I've done MCOM, has worked in a finance company. Now wants to come back to a technology-based training, learning, knowledge. So as we're gonna start our journey in this, now we have got to know what is D365. For a beginner like me, what is the roadmap for next 6 months, or maybe short-term goal or long-term vision? How do you phase it out so that how can we plan our journey towards D365 and getting good companies, good opportunities?
Yeah, definitely. It was a great question. So initially you can start with Microsoft Learn. So the Microsoft Learn is an open platform. Anybody can learn from there. It's a free of cost, which is managed by Microsoft. But if you need an extended learning on a practical side, there are trainers available. You can join with an institutes and like Umesh and me, we're all Microsoft certified trainers. So you can also approach any trainer for the training sessions, and that's the initial way to start learning. And once you are typically understanding the solution and the system, and you start practicing with the free trial licenses are also available, you can do them and get a hands-on experience. Once you have them, and you can start attending interviews and you can get a job.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I can see so many questions are posted in the chat as well. Let me try if I can answer one by one.
Hello, Venkat.
Yes.
Yeah, Sampros here. So actually, just wanted to ask, like after this call, will we get the recording for the same?
Yeah, this is available in the YouTube, and
Yeah,
Umesh will
yeah, you will
Umesh,
get
it's in the
the,
day. You'll
yeah,
share
you
it,
will get,
right? So everybody.
yes, yes. Yeah, I will share it to the LinkedIn, and our channel is with name of D365 user group, so you will be able to find it. Okay, so this is the channel. Subscribe it, you will get the alert over here. I will do it in some time, probably today itself.
Thank you. So is it possible system take exchange rate automatically from third party? That's a question from Minesh. Yes, there are some particular integrations which Dynamics does support, 3 exchange providers. So it can pick it from there. But if you have any other requirement, you can integrate from their websites as well. And next.
Yeah, one more
Hi,
thing.
Venkat.
Actually, I mean, how can we connect with you? I mean, to know more about the courses. I mean, one of my friend, he was also looking for this course. So actually,
I'll
he's
also
not a.
share my LinkedIn profile link in the chat, so you can connect with me over, and then we can
Yeah.
start discussing on.
Well, so let's connect over.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Venkatesh. Akash here.
Hi, Akash.
Hi. Well, I'm having like 1.8 years of experience in D365. I'm currently working with Wipro, but it's not completely I mean, like it's more like a migration project, and I didn't get any much of a thing to learn there. So I would like to know learn the implementation part. So can you just suggest me like where do I start if I want to learn the implementation and how it starts and how it ends?
So yeah, the same platform you can use on the Microsoft Learn to learn it, and you also can learn the implementation process with multiple other website which Microsoft also maintains. And since you are already an user, you can also get some document libraries, shared asset libraries, which is available in LCS. Also, you can download and start learning from there.
Okay, thanks, Venkatesh.
Thank you. Or you can approach some trainers who has a particular experience. And if you're any vertical you wanted to learn from the respective trainers, you can learn as well.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. So Nazim asked a question, can transfer fixed asset between companies set up in Dynamics 365? Yes, we can do it. Multiple depreciation, yes, it can be done. And multiple acquisitions also is possible. Thank you, Akash. Thanks, Omkar. Thanks, Nazim. Yes, Raghav, you will be finding so many wide opportunities. The resources in the Dynamics 365 is always scarce, so you will find good opportunities in the training. Initially, you might see less opportunities. Once you are getting experience, you will be finding so much, and the opportunities are there over the globe. Yes.
Yeah,
Umesh.
for trained freshers, we have the openings. So like multiple companies do open themselves for intake, even all over the world. It's just not India. Also, the key point would be, see, getting trained, getting certification does not mean that you will get the job. Your knowledge should be very, very good enough so that you can crack the interview. Okay, so I've seen people cracking the interview on their first go. Some people do it in 3 or 4 goes. So try it, you will definitely get it. Okay, the only thing is you should be dedicated. That's what I see in my career, that people are frustrated within first 3 months, then you will not be able to cope up in Dynamics, definitely. For freshers, there are a lot of opportunities. Connect with the group, create your LinkedIn profile, connect with me. I will try to help you out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Gopi. Thanks, Kiran.
Thank you. The
And
session was
Thank
very good. Just an announcement that this is the last session of the year. For December, we will be closed because there will be a lot of holidays followed by the new year. So we will be open in January. In case those who want to connect with us for our delivering their sessions, we are open. You can actually come and give the sessions with this. Oh, I'm not able to share it. Let me share the correct screen.
Meanwhile, we can connect you
Yeah,
through the LinkedIn, right? For
yeah,
any of us.
yes, you can connect with us to the LinkedIn. Also, call for call for this speaker is open. You can submit your idea as well, or you can scan it. Otherwise, you can connect with me, Venkat, or Rachit is our founder member. I'm helping them. I'm also reachable, very reachable, very approachable. And then Satya sir is also there. Please touch base with us. We are definitely there to help you guys. Okay, so this is the connecting link. These are the volunteers. Okay, so you can connect with any of us. We will make sure that you are getting the knowledge which you want. Plus, in case you want to deliver any session, we will encourage you and set it up, do the housekeeping, and everything will be ready for you. Thank you very much for everyone, and have a great day ahead. Plus, good night for those who are joining in for India, and then those people who are actually joining in from rest of the world. They have their own setup. Plus, I would say that Happy New Year and Happy Christmas, Happy Holidays.
thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your
Thank you
time.
so much. Time and
Thank
your
you.
valuable session.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Venkatesh and Umesh. Great session. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.